Think about the last time you made a sound that nobody was supposed to hear. Not a word. Not a sentence. Just a small hum under your breath. Maybe you were standing at the sink with your hands in warm water. Dishes stacked beside you. And this quiet little tune came out of you without permission. Maybe you were stuck at a red light that would not change. Drumming the wheel. Humming low in your throat. Maybe you were sitting in a meeting, biting back something you wanted to say. And instead of saying it, you hummed it. So soft, the person next to you never noticed. You probably thought it meant nothing. Just a Abbott. Just noise. Here is the strange part. That sound did not only travel out into the room. Part of it turned around and went back inside you. It buzzed in your lips, in your cheekbones, down your throat, into your chest, and somewhere in that quiet minute, before you had a single conscious thought about it, your body started to shift into a different gear. Now, I want to be straight with you before we go any further. This is not one of those videos where a soft voice tells you to breathe deep and feel your stress melt away. That kind of thing frustrates me, because the real story of what a hum does inside your body is far stranger and far more interesting than anything on a wellness poster. It runs through the longest nerve you own. It touches a rhythm your own heart can lock onto. And it wakes up a molecule that once won somebody a Nobel Prize. Almost nobody has ever explained to you why. So let me make you an offer. Close your lips right now, wherever you are, and hum one steady note for the length of one slow breath. Do it with me. For the next 60 seconds. You are not talking to the world. You are talking to your own nervous system. And by the time we finish, the answer to the question in the title is going to feel obvious to you. Not because I said so, because you will finally see the machine underneath it. Let me show you how it works. One layer at a time. The first thing you have to understand is who is actually listening, because it is not who you think. When you picture your brain paying attention, you probably picture it reacting to the outside world. A car horn, a face, a message on your phone, and yes, it does all of that. But that is the smaller half of its job. For every second you are awake, and every second you are asleep, your brain is also listening in a second direction. It is listening down into your own body. It is reading your heartbeat. It is reading how fast your breath is moving. It is reading the tension in your shoulders, the pressure in your chest, the tightness in your gut. It is pulling in a constant stream of reports from your own insides. And it is using those reports to decide one very old question. Am I safe right now? Or not? That quiet hum you made at the sink walks straight into the middle of that conversation. And to see why that matters so much, you have to meet the part of you that never stops listening. There is a word for this inward listening. Scientists call it interoception. Your sense of the outside world gives you sight and sound and touch. Interoception is the sense pointed the other way. It is how you feel your own heartbeat, your own breath, the flutter in your stomach before you walk on stage. Picture your brain as a night watchman in a dark building. He cannot see most of what is happening. The lights are off. The hallways are long. And he is sitting alone in one small room. So he does the only thing he can. He listens. He learns the building by its sounds. The hum of the pipes, the tick of the heating, the creak of a floorboard on the third floor. When those sounds hold steady, he leans back in his chair. When one of them changes, when a pipe bangs or a door slams somewhere below, he sits up, and his whole body gets ready for trouble. Your brain runs the exact same shift every hour of your life. The pipes are your blood vessels. The heating is your heartbeat. The creak on the third floor is a short, tight breath, and that watchman is making one judgment call over and over. faster than you can think. Everything sounds normal, or something is wrong. This is not a poetic idea. It is measured science. A researcher named Bud Craig spent years mapping how signals from inside the body climb up into a fold of the brain called the insula, where they get turned into feelings. Two scientists at the University of Sussex, Hugo Critchley and Sarah Garfinkel, went further. They showed that people who are more tuned in to their own heartbeat tend to feel anxiety more sharply. The body was not just along for the ride. The body was helping write the emotion. And here is the catch that runs the whole rest of this story. The watchman is not very good at telling a real emergency from a false alarm. When your breath goes short and fast, your brain reads that pattern as danger, even when there is no danger anywhere in the room. You could be sitting safely on your own couch, phone in hand, reading one bad email, and your breath goes shallow, and the watchman upstairs sits up straight and starts getting the body ready to run from a threat that does not exist. Your thoughts spun up your breathing. Your breathing spun up your brain. And now the two of them are feeding each other in a loop, faster and tighter. And no amount of telling yourself to relax seems to break it. Millions of people live inside that loop for hours at a time and call it a normal Tuesday. But a loop runs in both directions. If a fast, shaky breath can whisper danger to the brain, then a slow, steady breath can whisper something else. And that is the doorway. That is the exact place a hum reaches in and changes the message. Because you think you are making a sound, you think the whole point is the note, the little buzz in your throat, you are about to find out that the sound is almost a side effect. The thing that actually matters, the thing doing the real work, has very little to do with what your ears can hear. Your brain does not only listen through your ears, and what it is about to hear next travels up a completely different road. Try something for me. Try to hum and panic at the same time. You cannot do it. Go ahead and attempt it. The moment you hold a steady note, your breath has to stretch out long and smooth to keep the sound going. A hum will not survive on the short, gulping breaths of a stressed body. It needs a long, slow river of air moving out through your nose. So the second you start humming, your body quietly does something it would almost never do on its own in a tense moment. It makes your exhale long. And that, right there, is the whole secret. Not the note, the exhale. Here is why that one word carries so much weight. When you breathe in, your heart speeds up a little. When you breathe out, your heart slows down a little. This happens in every healthy person, all day long. And most people have no idea it is going on inside their own chest. Your heart is not a metronome clicking at one fixed speed. It is more like a boat on the ocean, rising a little, falling a little, riding the swell of each breath. So when your exhale stretches long, your heart gets a longer stretch of slowing down. The out-breath is the break. The out-breath is the part of you that says we are not running anywhere. We are not fighting anything. We can stand down. A short breath keeps tapping the gas. A long, humming breath keeps easing off it. And your body reads that difference instantly. Scientists have a way of measuring this. They watch how much your heart speeds up and slows down from beat to beat. And they call that heart rate variability. It sounds backward at first, but more variability is the healthy sign. A heart that flexes with your breath, that rises and falls freely, is a heart run by a calm and flexible nervous system. A heart locked into one rigid rhythm, refusing to move, is often a body stuck in high alert. You want the boat that rides the waves, not the one bolted to the dock. Now for the part that surprised even the researchers. There seems to be a certain speed of breathing where all of this clicks into place. Think about pushing a child on a swing. If you shove at random, you get a mess. The swing jerks and stalls. But if you time each push to the exact rhythm of the swing coming back to you, something beautiful happens. Tiny pushes build into a huge, smooth arc. You are matching the swing's natural rhythm, and the whole system starts working with you instead of against you. Your body has a rhythm like that too. When you slow your breathing down to somewhere around 6 breaths a minute, your breath, your heart, and the reflex that controls your blood pressure all start rising and falling together. In step, feeding each other. Researchers who study this, including a team led by Paul Lehrer and Richard Gevertz, found that breathing at this resonant pace can pull the whole system into a smooth, powerful wave. People trained to breathe this way, slow and even, to show real changes in that heart rate variability we just talked about. They found the pace of the swing, and a slow hum drops you almost exactly into that pace, without you ever counting a number or trying. Which brings me to the strangest wrinkle in this whole story, and it comes from newer research on humming itself. You would assume the sound is the active ingredient. You would assume the buzz, the vibration, is what does the work. But a recent study points somewhere else entirely. When researchers looked closely at what humming breathing does to the body, the biggest effects seemed to come from the shape of the breath itself. The long, slow exhale near that resonant pace, rather than from the vibration you can hear. When they compared humming, you could hear to humming with the sound blocked out. The difference was far smaller than you would expect. Sit with what that means for a second. The gift of the hum might not be the sound at all. The sound might just be the trick. The natural excuse that gets your body to breathe in the one pattern it needs, without you having to think about it. You believe you are making music. Underneath, you are making rhythm. You are not the only one who feels this. A group of researchers in Sweden, led by Bjorn Vikhoff, put heart monitors on a choir and had them sing together. And as the singers moved through the same slow musical phrases, breathing in the same places, their hearts began to rise and fall in unison. A room full of separate people, and their heartbeats drifted into the same wave, carried there by a shared breath. The sound was setting the rhythm of their hearts. So the long exhale sends a slower, calmer report up toward the brain. But that report does not just float up on its own. It travels along a specific wire, a physical cable running from deep in your body up into your skull. And that wire has one strange property that almost sounds made up. It does not understand a word you say. Meet the longest nerve in your body. It is called the vagus nerve, and the name comes from the old Latin word for wandering, because that is exactly what it does. It wanders. It leaves your brainstem, runs down through your neck, and branches out across your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your gut, touching almost every organ that keeps you alive. It is the main phone line between your brain and your insides. And here is the fact that stops people cold when they first hear it. Most of the traffic on that line is going the wrong way. You would guess the vagus nerve mostly carries orders down from the brain to the body. It does not. The large majority of its fibers run the other direction, from the body up to the brain. This nerve spends most of its time not commanding your organs, but reporting on them. It is the main road those inside signals travel to reach the watchman. Your heart, your lungs, your gut, all of them are talking upward, all the time. And the vagus nerve is carrying the message. Now here is the property that changes everything. The vagus nerve cannot read. It does not speak English or any other language. You can sit in your car and tell yourself, calm down. Calm down. Everything is fine. 100 times. Out loud. And that nerve does not register a single word of it. It has no ears for arguments. It has no idea what your reasons are. This is why talking yourself out of stress so often fails. You are firing words at a part of your body that was never built to hear them. But the vagus nerve is fluent in something else. It reads rhythm. It reads the pace of your breath and the pattern of your heartbeat and the long, slow pressure of an exhale. Those it understands perfectly. Those it responds to immediately. And this is the deepest idea in the whole video. So let me say it plainly. We try to fight stress from the top floor of the building, up in the thinking brain, with logic and pep talks and reasons. But the stress is not living on the top floor. It is down in the basement, in the breath and the heart and the gut, and you cannot argue your way into the basement. You have to send a signal it can actually read. You have to speak the body's language. That language is breath. So follow what your hum has already set in motion. The long exhale, the pace near that swinging rhythm. All of it presses gently on the vagus nerve, and the nerve carries that slower pattern up into the brain stem, into a small relay station. And from there, the calmer signal spreads outward toward the emotional centers of your brain. The watchman gets a new report. The pipes sound steady. The floorboards are quiet. Nobody is running. He leans back in his chair. I want to be honest about how careful we have to be here. There is a well-known theory, built by a researcher named Stephen Porges, that ties the vagus nerve to our sense of safety and connection, and it has shaped how a lot of people think about all this. Parts of that theory are still argued over by scientists, and I am not going to pretend it is all settled. A hum does not flip a switch in your brain from off to on. Nothing that simple is going on. What it does is quieter and more real. It changes the pattern of the signals moving through your body, and it hands the brain a calmer version of the story. Everything we have followed so far has happened in your chest, your throat, your heart, your nerves. But there is one more place a hum reaches, a place nobody expects, a place that has nothing to do with calm or breath or the vagus nerve, and everything to do with a molecule that once won 3 men a Nobel Prize. It is happening up in your nose, and it is the strangest part of this entire story. Up until now, this whole story has lived in your chest and your throat. The long breath, the slowing heart, the wandering nerve carrying its calmer report upstairs. That would already be a complete picture. Most people would stop there. But there is one more thing a hum does, and it happens in a place you would never think to look. It happens up behind your nose. To see it, you have to know about a hidden set of rooms in your skull. Tucked into the bone around your nose and your eyes are hollow. Air-filled pockets called sinuses. You have felt them your whole life without knowing much about them. They are the parts that ache when you catch a cold. The pressure behind your face on a bad allergy day. Most of the time they just sit there quietly. Small caves of air inside your own head. And those little caves are full of a gas your body makes on purpose. It is called nitric oxide. Your sinuses produce it and hold it. A quiet reservoir sitting there behind your face. Here is where it gets remarkable. Back in 2002, a team of researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, the same institute that helps decide the Nobel Prizes in medicine, decided to measure what happens to that gas when a person hums. They had people breathe out quietly, and they measured the nitric oxide leaving the nose. Then they had the same people hum, and they measured again. The number jumped about 15 times higher. 15 times. Not 15%. 15-fold. The same quiet breath. The same person. And the only thing that changed was the buzz of a hum. When you hum, the air in your nose vibrates hard. And that vibration shakes the gas out of those sinus caves and washes it out through your nose in a flood. A silent breath barely stirs it. A hum blows the doors open. Now, why should you care about one gas moving around behind your nose? Because of what that gas turned out to be. For most of medical history, nitric oxide was treated like garbage. It is in smog. It is in car exhaust. Nobody thought the human body would bother making something like that on purpose. And then, across the 1980s, 3 American scientists, Robert Furchgott, Louis Ignarro, and Farid Murad, discovered that this throwaway gas was actually one of the most important messenger molecules in the entire body. It tells blood vessels when to relax and open. It helps control blood flow. It plays a role in the immune system. This so-called waste gas was running quiet. Critical errands all over the human body. That discovery was so important that in 1998, those 3 men were awarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine for it. So, let me put the 2 facts side by side. Nitric oxide is a molecule so important it won a Nobel Prize. And a simple hum, the kind you make without thinking at a red light, floods your nose with about 15 times more of it. A Nobel Prize molecule. And you have a switch for it built right into your face. I have to be careful and honest with you here, because this is exactly the spot where a lot of videos start lying. That surge of nitric oxide is happening in your nose and your sinuses. It is not getting pumped up into your brain to heal you. It is not flooding your bloodstream with magic. The clearest, the most established job for the nitric oxide up there is local, in your airway. That gas helps fight off bacteria and viruses you breathe in. And it helps keep the airway open and healthy. Scientists are still working out everything else it might do. But sit with even the honest version for a second, because it is astonishing on its own. Your body has a built-in mechanism, sitting behind your nose your entire life, that you can trigger anytime you want, with nothing but a sound. You were born owning it. You have used it 1,000 times by accident. And until right now, you probably had no idea it was there. There is one condition, though. This only works one way. The whole thing depends on the buzz traveling up through your nose, which means your lips have to stay closed and the air has to move through your nose. Not your mouth. Open your mouth and hum out through it, and you lose the mechanism entirely, which turns out to be one of the most common ways people get this wrong. And they get it wrong in a few other ways too. So before you try this yourself, let me show you how to actually do it, and how to stop wasting it. Let me start with the mistakes, because odds are you would have made at least one of them. The first one we just met. People hum with their mouth hanging open, pushing the sound out into the room. It feels the same to them. But with the mouth open, the air is not driving up through the nose. And that whole nitric oxide effect in the sinuses simply does not happen. If you are going to hum, keep your lips closed and let it move through your nose. That one change turns a random noise into the real thing. The second mistake is speed. People hum in short, quick bursts. Buzzing for a second. Breaking off. Buzzing again. Still breathing fast underneath it. That skips the most important part of everything we talked about. The power was never in the buzz. It was in the long, slow exhale and the steady pace. A frantic little hum on top of a frantic breath gives you almost nothing. You have to let each hum ride out on a long, unhurried breath. The third mistake is quieter. And it is really a misunderstanding. A lot of people believe that calming your mind has to mean silence. Sitting perfectly still, emptying your head. And for plenty of people, that silence is actually hard, even stressful. Because the moment it goes quiet, the thoughts get louder. Sound can be easier than silence. A steady hum gives your attention one simple thing to rest on. One anchor, instead of an empty room for your worries to fill. And the last one is the one that makes people dismiss this whole thing before they ever try it. They hear humming and breathing, and something in them rolls their eyes. Because it sounds soft. It sounds spiritual. It sounds like something on a candle label. And so they walk right past real, measurable biology. The pressure reflex in your blood vessels, the wandering nerve carrying its report, a Nobel Prize molecule in your sinuses. None of that cares whether you believe in it. I do not think people who get this wrong are foolish. Nobody ever sat them down and showed them the machine underneath. That is the only thing we are fixing here. So here is how to actually do it. You do not need an app. You do not need music, or a quiet room, or a single dollar. Close your lips. Breathe in gently through your nose. An easy breath. Nothing forced. Then hum on the way out. One steady note. And let that out breath stretch as long as it comfortably can. Slow and smooth. Until you naturally need to breathe in again. Then do it again. Aim for a breath that is unhurried. Roughly 6 of them across a minute. Though you do not need to count. Your body will find the pace on its own once you let the exhale grow long. 60 seconds is enough to feel it. A few minutes is better. Now let me tell you the truth about what those 60 seconds can do. Because you deserve the honest version. Not the hype. 60 seconds of humming will not cure anxiety. It will not fix depression. Or replace therapy. Or replace medication. Or replace a good night of sleep. If you are carrying something heavy, please talk to a real doctor. A real professional. A real person in your life. A hum is not medicine. And I would be lying to you if I dressed it up as one. It is a signal, not a cure. But do not let that small word signal fool you into thinking it is nothing. Because think about what you actually have here. You have a switch you carry with you everywhere you go. It costs nothing. It needs no equipment. No privacy. No preparation. It works in a parked car, in a bathroom stall before a hard meeting, at the kitchen sink at the end of a long day, and in a moment when your thoughts are running too fast to argue with, when telling yourself to calm down is doing absolutely nothing. This is a way to reach past the thinking brain entirely and speak to your body in the one language it has always understood, the language of a long, slow breath. Remember where we started. That little hum at the sink, the one at the red light, the one you swallowed in the meeting so you would not say the wrong thing. You thought those sounds meant nothing. Now you know what they were. Your body was reaching for the oldest tool it owns, the one it had long before you learned a single word, and it was using it on you without waiting for your permission. So here is the real answer to the question we started with. When you hum for 60 seconds, you are not resetting your brain, and you are not performing a miracle. You are doing something quieter and older than that. You are stretching one long breath, steadying one restless heart, and sending one calm report up a wandering nerve to a tired watchman who has been waiting all day to hear that everything, for this 1 minute, is all right. You are not broken because you cannot think your way out of stress. Sometimes your brain does not need a better argument. It needs a slower breath, and it has been waiting, this whole time, for you to remember the oldest sound you already know how to make.